Hey y'all, this is your girl Tashi, and I'm back with another video. Yes, we're going to be reacting to Europe's problem with Roma. I don't know what kind of problems they have. That's why I'm here. That's why I'm watching this video, so I could learn, because I don't know what kind of problem y'all have with them. I don't know the history. I don't know much of the history about them, so let's get straight to it.
It was the night of May 16th, 1944, the Auschwitz-Birkenau Nazi death camp. Hundreds of Romani people armed themselves with hammers, pipes, and shovels. They'd been warned the day before that the Nazi...
So it's Roma. I say Roma. It's Roma. Okay, sorry.
...planned to execute all 6,000 of them at the camp. Several guards went inside the building to round up the Roma, but they had barricaded themselves. They refused to leave, and the guards had to retreat.
Damn.
Those who fought back that day were eventually killed in August. Even under the most dire circumstances, the Romani people had resisted the Nazis. But decades after the Holocaust, the Roma community continues to experience widespread discrimination.
When people talk about the Holocaust, they talk about the tragedy and horror of 6 million Jewish lives being lost to the Nazi war machine. But they never mention the thousands of gypsies that were killed by the Nazis. No one ever wants to talk about that because no one ever wants to talk about the positives.
It's centuries of dehumanization. And I think it's so sad that we need to emphasize that we're human, that we're not animals to people, to actually have the right to be respected.
This is the...
So I know about gypsies. So I heard about the gypsies. I guess that's another word of calling them that, the gypsies. I've heard about that growing up. But they was always labeled as... I never heard anything positive about them. It was always something negative. Like they're thieves, they're con artists and all this stuff. But I never really like got into it, try to figure out who these people are, you know, and then we was never learned much about them growing up, so I don't know much about them. So yeah.
Story of a brutally targeted community's fight for survival.
Damn.
First, who are the Romani people?
Yeah.
They actually aren't just people from Romania.
Right.
The Roma are an ethnic group. Historians believe Romani people first arrived in Europe from northern India about 1,000 years ago. Today, the Romani community can be found all over the world, and they're Europe's largest ethnic minority group, around 12 million people. Like, did you know this guy was Romani? And this originated from the Romani community in Spain?
Well, I know that already.
But despite the size and diversity of their community, the Romani people have been fighting against social stigmas for years. A huge stereotype is that all Romani people travel from city to city, never settling in one place. Because of this, Romani people have been known by various names such as Roma, travelers, and... that...
I will steal your clothes. See, this... Okay, so now I'm starting to remember what I've learned about them. I didn't know much about them. I just heard negative things about them. That's sad that that's all I've learned. Please don't be mad at me.
That word is often used interchangeably to mean a member of the Romani community, of which Shakira is not. And it's almost never used in a positive sense.
Yes, never.
Gypsies. The gypsies live outside the normal order, and they must be stopped.
I've heard people come up to me and say, I'm a gypsy too. I like to travel, you know, I have a gypsy soul and all of that stuff. But like, it's not a lifestyle. It's not like we decided that we're going to travel around the world because we have nothing else to do. It's because of persecution that the community has been nomadic.
The portrayal of the Romani community is a wider problem, rooted in something much deeper.
This is part of how racism and anti-Romani racism usually functions. There are all these mythcrafts that are constructed about Roma that make Roma look lazy, criminal, dirty,
Yes,
so that
yes.
white Europeans don't feel the moral responsibility and the accountability to actually do something about racialized poverty and racism, which are realities of the present time, but are also legacies of a history of injustice.
That injustice can be traced back centuries. Beginning in the 1370s, Romani people were forced into chattel enslavement in Romania, which lasted until the late 19th century. And similar to the US, there were no reparations paid to those who had suffered throughout that slavery. All across Europe, Romani people were also subjected to laws suppressing their culture and efforts to exclude them from mainstream society, like being forced to go to segregated schools or prohibited from buying land.
I think that there is a lot.
This is why I tell people it's never too late to learn. It doesn't matter how old. It doesn't matter how old you are. You learn. You learn every single day. Stuff that you don't even learn in school. Thank God for YouTube that I'm able to learn about this, because I didn't know no much. I didn't know much about Gypsies and Roma. I didn't know much about them. I just started putting two and two together, and I realized it's Gypsies. And I used to watch a lot of TV shows, and they always talk about Gypsy people, how they're thieves, they're lazy, they don't want to work. And it's so crazy how they could brainwash you to think that they're all like that. Same thing with black people, you know. They think that, you know, they like to make us seem like all black people are lazy, we don't want to work, and all that other stuff. It's kind of almost the same thing, like labeling people and saying that they're this and they're that. Like, this is sad. They shouldn't be treated this way, you know? Man, such a sad world.
What to say about this whole mythology that Roma do not value education, that Roma do, as a culture, we are not interested in education. So I don't think it is a tradition. I think it's, in some cases, it's a response to oppression, is a response to fear, is a response to disappointment.
But it was Nazi Germany that decimated the community. The Nazis' murder of 6 million Jews in the Holocaust is well known, but the hundreds of thousands of Roma murdered alongside them have largely been ignored. Nazis targeted Romani people for being supposedly racially inferior, and by the end of the Holocaust, many countries had lost more than 80% of their Roma populations. So much death, and yet still to this day, the Romani people have to fight for their losses to be recognized. Romani people...
This is sad. There's so much you have to learn, so much.
People continue to be targeted throughout Europe, with the UN warning in 2021 that hate speech and violence against them were on the rise.
And that's why a lot of folks, especially the most vulnerable ones amongst our community, will stay within the community. And then you could have a PhD, you could be a journalist, you could run a media, and people will still come up to you and say really racist things to you, but also treat you as if you're not worthy of life, you're not worthy of time, you're not human.
Girl, that's how they treat black people too.
For instance, the gypsy
Just
hunts
like us
that
too.
were organized in different parts of Europe, including in some of the Nordic countries. The forced sterilization of Romani people, of Romani women, which happened not only in the Czech Republic and Slovakia, but in many other European countries before, during, and after the Holocaust.
Today, around 90% of Romani people in Europe live below the poverty line. In some countries, Romani children are forced into segregated schools or special classes. Back in 2013, a Hungarian mayor shut down public water pumps that the Romani community depended on, saying the free water supply was being wasted. And in 2019, Bulgarian officials proposed what they called a Roma integration strategy to limit the number of children Romani women could have by offering free abortions. Poll after poll shows many Europeans hold deeply negative views about the Roma people.
The problem is that we face structural inequities. The problem is that we face racist structures. So why don't we fix these racist structures and spaces as opposed to thinking that Roma are inferior?
And that's why you can't talk about the current conditions of the Romani community without acknowledging the centuries of discrimination, racism, and oppression.
I hope that in the coming years we will not be.
They know exactly what they're doing. I'm not talking about them. I'm not talking about not talking about them, but you cut off their water. They need water to survive. Like, you just, like, because you think water is being wasted. Like, people act like they own water. Who, like, since when we own water? And we're the ones that control the water. Say, no, you ain't getting no water. You're not getting this. And you need to be on that side. We don't want you over here. We don't look at you as human. I don't think you're a human. We live such in a sad world. And people should not be treated this way. This is sad how we treat one another. As humans, this is how we treat one another.
Always uttered. But I also hope that we will be given the resources not to be, But that also means that some people need to give up their seat.
Both Dr. Matache and Leila Savic believe that in order for anti-Romani racism to be dismantled, there needs to be an honest discussion about how societies share power. This means it's not just about inclusion and representation, but having realistic reforms that put Romani people in positions of power.
We can't really disconnect racism from power because these two are interconnected.
And just like on the night of May 16th, 1944, the Roma community is not backing down.
I think that we're a very resilient community, and try to understand what is your role in anti-Gypsyism, right? Like, are you sustaining it or are you challenging it?
I don't understand why people are being judged for what their ancestors did in the past, or what kind of problems happened in the past. Why do other people have to suffer? Like I said, I don't know much about the history. It doesn't matter what people did in the past or what reasons y'all have problems with them. It's just sad. At the end of the day, they're human, and you should not treat another human that way. Doesn't matter their race. It doesn't matter they're black, white. It doesn't matter where they're from. You don't treat people that way. They're still human. It's not nice. When you do good things for this world, good things will come back to you. People should not be treated this way. This is sad. The kids shouldn't even be treated this way. The kids shouldn't even be suffering. This is sad, and people need to talk up. I don't know why people are scared to talk up. You're fighting for another human. It doesn't matter where you're from, or it doesn't matter. You gotta learn to love one another and respect one another. That's why this world is like this. That's why this world is like this. You ever thought about why the world is like this? That's why it's like this. Because we don't respect one another at all. This is why I don't like to watch some of these type of videos. Get me mad. It gets me mad. It gets me man, this is sad. But anyway, learn to respect one another. And if you want to see me react to more of these type of videos, subscribe to my channel. Also, don't forget these videos I have right here. Check those out, and I'll see you lovely people. Learn to love one another and respect one another, and this world will be a beautiful place to live.